Hey there friends, how's it going today? Happy Monday morning to you. So a quick fun update I want to share for you is I have a new bundle of cheat sheets available as of right now. So the link is in the description, or you can head on over to my song notes website. The quick sort of 15-second version is for those most common keys you're going to be playing on in guitar, right? C major, G major, D major, A major, E major. I have made a cheat sheet for each of those keys showing you all the need-to-know info you're going to want as far as the major scale, fretboard map, sort of scale formula, scale reference guide, right? And then all those common chords you're going to run into, the diatonic triads, the seventh chords, and even some of those borrowed chords and secondary dominants, which might sound scary to you. But check out these cheat sheets, because even if you don't know what these terms mean and you don't want to race over to my practical music theory course, which is fine, there's a place for theory, but sometimes the time for theory is not right now, right? But get these cheat sheets, download them, print them out, look at them, compare them, and you're going to sort of, as you learn song after song and you sort of noodle with scales or this or that, you're going to start to put together and sort of connect the dots with some of these handy things. So let me give you a tour of these in this video and talk about what's in them. But again, the short answer is if you want to get them, head on over to songnotes.net. That's my website, and you can get access to these as well as all my other cheat sheets and instructional PDFs. So thanks to all of you who are supporting me with membership over there. It keeps these blue lights on that are on behind me as I continue to make these lessons, all right? One other quick note is for each key, I've also included a page showing you all the song lessons I've made that are in that key. And this is really important because any song you're learning in a certain key is typically going to use chords that belong to that key. So you learn that bundle of chords once, you can get a lot of mileage by learning other songs that are also in that key. So I have links. If you download the PDF, you can click on each link. And of course, you can just search at songnotes.net if you need to find any of these songs at any other point. All right, let's talk about these and how they sort of work, these cheat sheets, right? So first up, at the top of each of these cheat sheets, you're going to find just a summary of that key's major scale. Now this is important because the 7 notes that are in each key's major scale really are sort of the building blocks. It's almost like the periodic table. Now I'm terrible at chemistry. I always had a hard time on it, right? But this idea of these are the building blocks that all the scales and all the chords we're going to play and all the triads and all that sort of stuff are going to be using, right? It's these notes in the major scale. So you need to have, if you don't know them by heart, which is fine, having the cheat sheets is the next best thing, because then you can just reference it and be like, how many sharps are in the key of G again? Oh yeah, it's just F sharp, right? It's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, okay? You might have no interest in learning scales. That's fine. But being able to sort of understand, or at least know where to find the notes in each major scale is something that I want to help you out with. So that's at the top of each cheat sheets. Now, next up, I have a fretboard map of each key. Now this is going to show you, it's presented in 2 ways for each key, right? One is showing you the note names in the first 5 frets, okay? So again, if we're in the key of C here, you can see that the C notes are highlighted because those are the root notes, right? In any key, your root note is the most important note. Everything is sort of based around that note, right? A lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, melodies that you play, right, are going to, melodies you learn from songs that you're learning, right? They're going to either start or end on the root note. Not always, but a lot of the time, right? The root note, again, is that tonal center. So you can see it highlighted there. I also have the fretboard maps written out using scale degrees, right? These are the numbers. They're sort of similar to intervals, right? They represent the number of each note in the scale, in a sense, in the major scale, right? So if someone says, walk it up from the 5 to the 1, right? Right? That note-wise is going from G to A to B to C. But if we looked at the scale degree map here, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, it is a helpful thing to at least be aware of. So the cheat sheet has you covered there in that first little portion. So one other thing I've included is a scale reference guide for each key. And the idea here is to show you a handful of common scales you're going to run into and just showing you the notes that are in those scales. Now, again, just like with the major scale, the notes in each key are going to be different, right? But here's the important part, is the formula that powers and fuels and gives us each of these scales is consistent across all keys. I already talked about the major scale being built with, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, now that may just seem like I'm counting to 7, right? But if you look at my practical music theory course and scale degrees and intervals, right? And you look at the intervals of each of these, it's our tonic, right? Then to a major second, a major third, a fourth, a fifth, a major sixth, a major seventh, and then back to the one, okay? Those are sort of the intervals of each of those notes. Now, when we talk about scale degrees, think of those as a sort of type of interval, right? And for example, look at the pentatonic scale. It's the 1, the 2, the 3, the 5, the 6, and it starts over again at 1. Or you could think of songs like My Girl, right? That opening bass line in the song My Girl uses the pentatonic scale, right? The 1, the 2, the 3, the 5, and the 6. It's the same in every key, okay? There's also things like the blues scale and the Mixolydian scale where we bring in some sort of non-diatonic notes into those scale formulas. And when I say diatonic, all that means is look at the major scale that's at the top of each of these cheat sheets, right? Anything that's constructed 100% with these major scale notes is going to be called diatonic, right? It's sort of coming purely from those notes. But we get to some situations where we'll use a chord or just an individual note that does not come from the major scale, but yet we're still in a certain key center. So for example, the C major blues scale, I'm adding that flat third for one note, right? That gives us a sort of hint of sort of minor tonality. But I'm still in the sort of key of C major, right? So that's what that flat third has to do. Same with the C Mixolydian scale. Lots of songs in rock and country are going to use that flattened seventh. It gives us a little bit of that bluesiness, right? The C7 chord, the C dominant 7 chord, right? This seventh note, it's actually a flat seventh, right? This is coming from the C Mixolydian scale. Okay, so you want to think blues inflection. You don't need to understand that or know how to use it, but I just want to have it written out, again, for the key of C as well as all the other keys. And let me note one more time, the formula is consistent no matter which key you're in, okay? Now, one other thing I've included in the scale part is the relative minor scale for each major key. So this is important. I haven't really covered this in my practical music theory course yet, but the idea is that for every major key, there is a relative minor which has the same exact notes. And likewise, every minor key has a relative major, right? I think of this in terms of like the upside down in Stranger Things or some opposite world, right? So for C major, your relative minor chord is A minor, okay? And your relative minor key is likewise A minor. So the A minor scale there uses the same notes as the C major scale. You just have a different starting point, okay? The other part that's covered on each of these cheat sheets on the bottom half of the first page here is the most common chords. Okay, so these are the chords that are going to be used the most often when we're playing in each key. Now, the diatonic triads are the big ones. Okay, again, diatonic means that these are just constructed with all the notes in the major scale at the top of the page. So for the key of C, for example, right, we have our 1 chord, which is C major. We have our 2 chord, which is D minor. Our 3 chord is E minor, okay? F is our major 4, G is our major 5, and then A minor is our 6th chord. Now, the thing that I tackle this on my practical music theory course. In any key, the 1, the 4, and the 5 are the most commonly used chords, at least in Western pop music, right? Those are the major chords, okay? Now, you're going to notice that I have the sort of fretboard chart for each of these chords, and I also have the notes that are sort of the chord tones that are powering each of these chords, right? C is built with C, E, and G. D minor is built with D, F, and A. E minor, E, G, and B. F and G and A minor. You see the notes that are powering things. But I also have the sort of the scale degrees that from the C major scale that are powering each of these chords as well. So C is built with the 1, 3, and 5. If you look at the major scale, right? D minor is built with the 2, 4, and 6. E minor is built with the 3, 5, and 7. Now I hope you start to notice a pattern here, right? Whatever your root note is for any chord, you just add 2 numbers to that, then you add 2 numbers again. And with those 3 numbers you have, that's the sort of triad, right? 1, 3, 5 is our 1 chord, 2, 4, 6 is our minor 2 chord, right? 3, 5, 7 is our minor 3 chord. Now, again, if this seems like it's adding confusion, It's all good. Don't worry about it. This is not on the test, right? But this is here in the cheat sheets if you want it, if you want to reference it later. And again, you look at the fretboard maps. It might not happen now. It might be a few weeks or a few months or a few years down the road. But eventually, as you keep going with guitar, you start to realize that the amount of information that can seem chaotic at first, it really all kind of works together in predictable ways. So you can sort of use all this information and compare it to different things on the same page, but also compare it to different things on the other keys and see how certain things are consistent. One of the big takeaways here with the scale degrees, anytime you see a blue number on these sort of cheat sheets, notice how the blue number placement on all these cheat sheets is 100% consistent, right? And that's because these formulas that power these scales, that power these chords, are 100% the same in all keys. And that is sort of a good handy crutch that we can use for support as we're learning things here. Okay? One other thing I want to talk about really quick are the chords on the right here. Now these are secondary dominants and borrowed chords. Again, might sound scary, but here is why this matters. In lots of songs, you're going to run into these chords in any given key. Okay, and I want to call them out and call out what they are, what are the notes that are powering them, and then how they work, right? Here's an important thing to keep in mind, is all these notes on the right, all these chords on the right, they all contain one note, just one, that is not in the major scale on whatever key you're looking at. So if we stay on the key of C, for example, right? Sometimes you'll run into a C7 chord, and I'm not talking about a C major 7, right? This is a C major 7, okay? That is a diatonic chord. It's all coming from the C major scale, right? But C7, a dominant 7, okay, that will show up from time to time, okay? Now, what are the notes in C7? Well, it's a C, an E, a G, but that 7 is, all right, when I played C, E, G, I should have done that. This is our C, our E, our G. But then we're going to add this flattened 7th, right? Which is a B flat in the key of C major here. Now, B flat is not in the C major scale, which makes this a non-diatonic chord if we want to get fancy about it. But when you run into this chord, and as I note here, and I do this for every key, it typically, when you run into it in the key of C major, is going to resolve to an F chord. Okay? And that's one of these things with these secondary dominants, is you can think of these as the 5-7 chord from some other key. And this is for a separate video where I tackle this topic. But anytime you look at a dominant 7 chord, right, the 5-7 chord in any key typically resolves back to the 1. So in the key of C, we have our C major. If we go to a G, that's our 5 chord. Our 5-7 chord is a G7. And our ears, when they hear that 5-7, our ears really expect it and almost want it to resolve back to the 1. There's a strong pull, right? But what we can do is use 5-7 chords from other keys to sort of make our ear want to hear that resolution. So another common one you'll hear in the key of C. Let's go from a C to an A minor to a D7. Now D7 is not in the key of C as far as the diatonic chords go, but we can look at this cheat sheet and be like, D7 is the, it's the 2-7 chord, right? This is going to typically resolve to G, right? And that's because in the key of G, that D7 is your 5-7 chord. So again, this might all be like way over your head, but again, I implore and really suggest and advise you, get these cheat sheets, download them, print them out, and as you're learning songs, you're going to notice these chords that might seem out of place, but you look at this guide and you'll be like, oh, I got it. That's just the sort of secondary dominant in this key or whatever. Or another one here is these borrowed chords at the bottom. Again, this might sound scary for you, but in the key of C, you might notice this a lot, where you have an F and it goes to an F minor and then it goes back to a C, okay? That comes up quite a bit. So this song "Creep" by Radiohead, for example, that's in a different key. That's in the key of G, but you're going to go from your 1 chord, then you're going to go to your major 3 chord. Okay. Now I have the major 3 written up here. It's going to typically resolve to an F or an A minor in the key of C. Now in the song Creep, it's going to go to the 4 chord, which is F, right? Which matches what I show. And this F is going to go to F minor, right? It's going to go from a 4 to a minor 4. And it's going to start over again, right? When you were here before, couldn't look you in the eye. You're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather. You could play that in any other key. But again, my point is, these are chords you're going to run into over and over again quite predictably. But these are the most common chords in each key, right? The most common scales you're going to run into, the most common frets you're going to be playing on, and at the very top, the notes in each major scale. Now, again, over time, I plan on adding to these sort of cheat sheets and adding multiple pages to them, right? Showing you things like fretboard maps for the major scale, pentatonic scale, triad positions, other ways to play the chords, walk up and walk downs. My goal here is to give you a real handbook more than just a cheat sheet. Kind of feels like one page. And I think what I have here today for you are cheat sheets, right? But my sort of longer term goal is to really give you a sort of real guide. Hey, if you're playing in the key of C, get this guide I have, this handbook. It's going to show you not just the sort of one-page summary, but the most common stuff you're going to run into, right? So all that is coming, but I am proud to offer this to you today. So get the link in the description to check this out. And I have tons more stuff in the works, but I've wanted to get this out and available to you all for so long, right? Going back to lesson 388, and it feels good, even though it's taken me quite a long time, but it feels good to finally get this available for you all. So I hope you enjoy. Let me know what questions you have, but also what things you might want to see covered in this as far as quick reference guides. Now, again, if you need help with these chords, if you need help reading music or reading fretboard diagrams or chord charts, if you need help with practical music theory, I have courses for all those things at songnotes.net. In each course, I have video lessons on each topic. I have my print-friendly guides, right? I have web page components where I show you the same information on the screen that you can read with images if you don't want to worry about a video or a printout. It's all there for you, right? I've been building this out over years on my Song Notes website. Thanks to all of you who are supporting me with membership. It literally, again, keeps the lights on here and makes all this possible as I continue to teach songs, teach these important musical concepts, and sort of help you grow as a guitarist and a musician. So hope you all find this helpful. Let me know what feedback you have, and I'll see you in the next video. And until then, my friends, take care and bye-bye.